My parents disapprove of my loving boyfriend, saying he's a red flag because he drinks beers and uses Zyns. Meanwhile, he treats me like his wife, saying, "You're everything I ever wanted." Am I blinded by love or are they just too critical? How do I choose? I, 22 female, recently had my boyfriend, 22 male, visit me in Ohio to meet my parents for the first time. We originally met online through gaming, and over the past 6 months, our relationship has evolved into something I have never experienced before in the best way. We felt an immediate attraction the moment we started talking. We simply clicked. However, it was not until a month later that he officially asked me to be his girlfriend during the final cooperative mission on Halo. Reach, I had never played any Halo game until I met him. It remains one of the most special moments I have ever experienced, and since then I have developed a growing interest in the Halo franchise and lore, with him also buying me Halo-related items. He is from Texas and works full-time on an oil rig. Despite his demanding job, he has been consistent, kind, emotionally supportive, and incredibly affectionate. He calls me every day after work, FaceTimes me regularly, and we have watched The Walking Dead all the way to season 7 together. We also play games together, and he always encourages me with compliments, both about my gameplay and my appearance. He is loving, respectful, flirtatious, and genuinely makes me feel appreciated. We have now met in person twice. First visit last month, he came to Ohio, and I visited him at his friend's house who also lives in Ohio. That is when we became intimate for the first time. He told me I was the first person he had ever been with and that he waited for someone he truly loves, trusts, and wants to be with for the rest of his life. That moment was incredibly significant. We did much more than just that, but most of this trip was to ensure our connection was not solely emotional. We could physically be together as well, going on dates, watching shows, cleaning, making dinner, engaging in all sorts of activities where he supported me. Second visit, this past weekend, he came to visit me where I live and met my parents. We spent 4 days together, only deepening our connection. When we are together, he treats me as if I matter. He holds my hand constantly, cuddles me, opens doors, carries my belongings, and buys me thoughtful little gifts like books and Legos. He never leaves my side. He is exactly the same person I have known online, but instead of words, I can see it through his actions. He also proudly refers to me as his wife to everyone, his family, his friends, and even online. He showcases me with pride, not for show, but because he genuinely wants the world to know he loves me. We share a tremendous amount of trust. We are exclusive, fully committed to one another, and open in ways I have never experienced in a relationship. We each have access to each other's phone passwords and have both used each other's phones openly without hesitation. There has never been a question of loyalty or honesty, it is effortless transparency. Our connection is deeper than anything I have ever had. We seem to speak the same language, literally saying the same things simultaneously, texting identical thoughts and finishing each other's sentences. He is not just someone I love, he genuinely feels like home. And this is not just a fling. We have had real profound discussions about our future. We talk about what we want to achieve together over the next year, plans to move, dreams of traveling the world together, building a life side by side, and eventually settling down, getting married, and starting a family. It is not just fantasy talk, it is intentional. We both have goals and we want to build a future together. Now for the difficult part, my parents do not approve of him. They mentioned red flags, and after he left, they made it clear that they do not think he is the right person for me. Here is what they said. When he drank beer while visiting, yes, he consumed a fair amount, not excessively, but he never acted out of control. If anything, he becomes even more affectionate when he drinks. It is part of how he was raised, but he is always respectful and in control. 2. He uses nicotine pouches. They brought this up frequently, concerned about health and habit issues. He does not hide it, but it is also not something he flaunts. It does not affect how he treats me or how he functions. 3. He did not talk to them. He absolutely did. We had dinner, sat at the table for hours, and he participated in the conversation. He is naturally talkative and laid back. He was polite, respectful, and definitely not ignoring anyone. 4. He does not have a college degree. They worry that he cannot support me, even though he makes just as much, if not more than I do. I have a degree and a full-time job, and I do not need financial support, but even if I did, he is capable. For some context, I was raised in a very overprotective household. I have done everything they asked, obtained my degree, secured a full-time job, avoided trouble, and always followed their rules. I have lived under tight supervision for years, and now that I have found someone who loves me without judgment, I feel like I am being held back again. They are also worried about my plan to move to Texas with him next year, claiming I will lack a support system if something goes wrong. However, his family and he absolutely adore me. His parents have openly stated they would love for me to live with them or nearby, and his mother and I even text and FaceTime regularly. His friends are also incredibly welcoming, one even offered me a place to stay if I ever needed it. His world feels safe, supportive, and loving. Mine feels cold and critical. I know my parents care about me. I am not trying to dismiss their perspective, but I also cannot ignore how controlling they have been and how deeply I care for this man. He means everything to me. He makes me feel loved, secure, and accepted in ways I never thought I would experience. And I have finally found someone who provides me with peace, not pressure, love, not judgment. Am I being blinded by love, or are they being too judgmental over personality and lifestyle differences? How do I navigate this without losing either him or my family? Edit 1. Hi everyone, I apologize for disappearing for a while. I went to bed early, but it is now 4 a.m. and I am having difficulty sleeping. Shortly after writing this post and reading some of the comments, I called him to discuss some of the points raised in the comments. We talked about his drinking habits, including why he believed it was acceptable to drink in front of my parents. He apologized profusely and said if I wanted that to stop, he would quit drinking entirely and would consume alcohol only in extreme moderation. I agreed. We also discussed moving to Texas next year and slowing things down. He again apologized for making it seem rushed and said if I wanted to wait longer than a year while we slowed our relationship down, he was completely okay with that. He mentioned it should not be rushed and asked if there was anything he could personally improve or if I felt pressured. I explained how I truly felt. It did not necessarily feel rushed, but we should give it much more time than we have, and he agreed and apologized. He said our relationship should not feel like a hurry, and he would provide me with as much time as I needed. We even talked about the possibility of him moving up here, and he was very open to that and to finding a different job to support us together if that happens. I also discussed the wife thing with him. I do not particularly mind it myself, but given that I am not actually married to him yet, I feel no need or obligation for him to call me that. He again apologized for referencing it that way. We do have plans to see each other at least once a month or every 2 months over the next year. I plan to go to Texas for a weekend for his birthday next month, and I am going on vacation with him and his family in May. I have not thought far ahead into June or beyond, but I know he would book a flight just to see me in a heartbeat. As for some of the questions I received. One, shortly after picking him up at the airport, we went to the store together to buy some alcohol. I was already aware of his drinking habits at the time since we did this the first time we met. I did not see anything wrong with it since I had told him we do not keep much alcohol at my parents' house. This is not to defend him, as I made sure he understood that his drinking habits were excessive in the call we had earlier. 2. I live with my parents. I have recently graduated college and secured my full-time position, so I am currently living with them to save money for my own place. 3. I apologize for only mentioning positives. I did not think to include anything negative about him in my initial post. I tend to focus solely on his potential good qualities. Yes, we have definitely had our ups and downs, and neither of us is perfect. We have had our fair share of arguments and disagreements. To be honest, there were many points brought up in the conversation with my parents that I was unaware of. 4. This is more of an aside, but I have met and played games with his friends. After returning home, I usually join a call with them to discuss and play games. They have known each other for over a decade, and I trust their opinions and know them well. None of what any of them has told me about him has been a lie, and all their stories about his life and experiences align. 5. He has had one other serious relationship in his lifetime. He was 16 in high school, and he has not dated anyone since then. To summarize, her parents made her break up with him due to some conflict. From what I understand, he used to be a bully in high school, and everyone was fearful of him. Since then, he has not dated anyone, as I've heard from his friends that he has had multiple unsuccessful talking stages over the past 2 years, specifically with 3 girls I have heard about. His friends told me about all 3 before we ever started dating. They assumed I would also be another failed talking stage, but they were surprised when he asked me to be his girlfriend since he had never asked any of those girls to be his partner. His friends have since been extremely kind and accepting of me, making me feel like part of their small group. 3 of them live relatively close together in a state and have invited me and him to visit them sometime next year. Again, they have known each other since they were 12, having played games for a literal decade, so I see no issue with it. Additionally, he met with the 3 of them earlier this year. Another reason he has explained for not dating anyone is that, in this age, people seem to only want to hook up and are not looking for anything serious. For him to find me, understand what I am looking for, and recognize our common interests was something he viewed as remarkable, and he could see a future with me. Sure, we do not share all the same interests, but since I have known him, we never run out of things to discuss, whether about each other, our lives, or our plans together. 6. He has always been extremely generous with his money. When he visited the 3 friends mentioned above, he frequently paid for their dinners or covered one of them if necessary. He has also bought me and the guys a couple of video games occasionally so he can play with us. Therefore, I do not see any issue with him wanting to buy me a Lego set or a couple of books or taking us out for lunch or dinner. I sometimes attempt to use my card to pay, but he insists on covering it, saying it is on him and that I should be treated like a lady. 7. I do not mind moving to Texas. Yes, I am on birth control and have been for over 5 years. We are both very cautious regarding this matter and use extra protection as well. We frequently discuss sex as I tend to get recurrent urinary tract infections after it. Thus, the topic of my willingness to engage in sexual activity comes up often. He has assured me that he is completely okay with waiting so we can address my concerns about my body. Additionally, he has told me I have the right to say no and I have exercised that right. During his visit this weekend, we did not have sexual intercourse at all. I should also mention that during our first meeting, we agreed on a safe word and a safe physical signal just in case. He wants to ensure I am entirely comfortable, and I and he have used our safe word before. He stops everything immediately. 8. I have experienced 3 serious relationships in my life. I had 2 fairly serious relationships during college, both of which I felt moved at that pace. In my most recent relationship, there were discussions of me moving to where my ex lived after college. We broke up during my senior year, so that talk did not progress very far, but it was certainly on the table. The only difference is that he and I had been together for nearly 2 years at that point. So yes, I now see and understand the moving situation. It should not be hurried. Edit 2. My parents did not bring up any of this or his excessive drinking in front of him. These are all points I heard later after his departure, which they shared with me. I erred in assuming they would address these matters with him. My father even offered him whiskey mid-conversation, so I personally did not perceive a problem with his drinking. Edit 3. I could not sleep after updating this post. I called him around 5 a.m. this morning and discussed these issues in more detail. He agreed wholeheartedly to quit drinking, or if I suspect he does, he will FaceTime me immediately to prove that he has. Regarding the nicotine addiction, he plans to gradually reduce it over the next couple of months. He has had this habit since he was 12 and is now fully addicted. I presented these as health concerns of my own, separate from what my parents mentioned. These are significant health issues. People should not consume 10 beers a night. I also emphasized that any changes he makes should be for himself and to improve his health rather than for me. He now understands these are genuine concerns for his well-being. If there is anything I have not addressed, please leave a comment, and I will try to respond to it tomorrow. Edit 4. Thank you all for your thoughtful responses. I have decided that I will no longer comment on or read this thread after today. I will approach things one day at a time, living each day as it comes, whether it be good or bad, and definitely slowing things down. Every comment has provided something valuable. Many of you have raised valid concerns, and I appreciate how this has helped me pause and reevaluate some of my own boundaries, values, and morals. Thank you again for the advice, support, and honesty. Perhaps I will have an update in the future, perhaps not. Take care, Blue Lentiles. Story 2. My friend copies everything about my life, from my hair to my spirituality, and thinks she can join me at every spa day. It's like I'm living with a possessive fan. Why is it so important, I ask, while she pulls the silent treatment when I cancel our plans. How do I break free? What annoys me the most is that she not only seems to copy everything I do and buys everything I have, but she also appears to have a need to possess me somehow. I have noticed that sometimes, when I do not tell her about something, or when I mention hanging out with others, she becomes passive-aggressive because I am not sharing information with her or enjoying life with other people besides her. The feeling I get from her is that she wants to have me all for herself and desires to live exactly my life. I will provide examples of how far and extreme she goes to try to emulate me or copy me, so you do not think I am merely exaggerating. 1. She constantly asks where I purchase items. On average, I receive 3 to 5 questions a week, for example. Is this the cream you bought? Or where do you buy shoes? When I sometimes do not respond, she becomes passive-aggressive and even gives me the silent treatment. She makes me feel like I owe her this information. I think she believes this is what friendship is, a purely transactional relationship where she must benefit by obtaining information from me. She even asked if it would be acceptable for her to come over so we could do online shopping together. She wants me to choose her clothes and continually asks for my opinion. Excuse me, I am not a personal shopper, go hire one. 2. Earlier today, I mentioned that I wanted to buy a pair of sneakers that a woman was wearing. She said she was looking for sneakers and would likely purchase that pair, and then she took a picture of it. This occurs on average 3 to 5 times a week. Whenever I mention liking something, she immediately goes and buys it. She even purchased the same pajama set that I bought earlier this week. 3. A few days ago, she asked me for the contact information of the man who designed my furniture, and she explicitly said she would replicate the exact same design, same color. She is currently redesigning her entire place to look like mine. 4. She knows I like the color pink, and now, all of a sudden, she is obsessed with that color to the extent that she refuses to buy a dress she likes because it is not pink. 5. I once cut her off for a few months. When I added her back and had not seen her in a while, she was carrying the exact same style of bag that I own and wearing the same distinct ring. By the way, the bag is vintage Dior, and the ring is also vintage and unique. So it is not as if those pieces are common or easy to find. 6. Her natural hair is curly while mine is straight, but she underwent a hair treatment to make her hair permanently straight. Not to mention, she purchased the same hair products I already use. 7. I do yoga, and suddenly she has begun taking gym yoga classes. I practice reformer Pilates and she started doing that as well. She mentioned that she wants to have a membership at my gym. Keep in mind it is quite far from where she lives. 8. You know the drill by now. She copies me and undergoes all the cosmetic procedures or treatments I pursue. I regularly have massages and visit spas, and now she wants to join me at every spa. I understand that she enjoys spending time with me, but can I breathe? A few days ago, she became passive-aggressive and gave me the silent treatment because I had a spa day without informing her. When I told her I was busy and at the spa, she stopped responding to my texts for 2 days afterward. 9. She changed her sexuality to match mine. When I first met her, she claimed to be bisexual and had many friends from the LGBTQ community. Now she is very straight, dating only men, and has cut off all her LGBTQ friends. This is me. I am straight and do not have many LGBTQ friends. 10. She also desperately wants to know my ideas, what I do during my day, my habits, and routine. She is overly curious and seems eager to obtain this information. She wants to know what supplements I take and what my bedtime routine is. I do not mind her knowing, but it becomes overwhelming when she appears to just extract information from me, making me feel like that's all she sees in our friendship. I never get curious about her in that way and do not want to acquire an excessive amount of information about her, which annoys me. It feels as if she always wants information solely to apply it to her life. For example, she asked where I store my makeup, and the next day she started putting her makeup in the bathroom like I do. Why does this even matter? Why is she copying that? Why is this so important to her? I do not understand. 11. She started to take an interest in spirituality after getting to know me because she knows I am very spiritual. Initially, I encouraged her, but then she began buying tarot decks like mine and started to annoy me with her questions because she wants to learn how to read them from me. She seems to believe that I possess some magical formula or a big secret to having a perfect life, and she wants to obtain it. However, I am just a normal person with flaws who is trying to improve. I do not understand why she wants to mimic me so intensely. Why can she not follow her own path and journey? There are many more instances. I could write 200 pages describing such occurrences. I understand that sometimes people admire others and aspire to be like them, which is normal. However, with her, I do not feel it is normal because it seems to border on obsession, and I see it escalating every day. The problem is that she also appears to be very sensitive when she senses that I do not want to share things or keep certain matters private. She almost becomes offended and possessive when I do not disclose personal information to her. She wants to know every step I take and seems to feel that I owe her this. She also seems to lack boundaries and cannot grasp or respect that I am my own person and am entitled to have my own life, space, and secrets that I do not wish to share with her. I have other friends with whom I spend time and hobbies unrelated to her, and I do not want to share those or engage in them with her. She even becomes passive-aggressive when I cancel plans with her, despite being expected to be an understanding adult. I enjoy spending time with her sometimes, but most of the time I feel suffocated. I also think she admires me greatly and places me on a pedestal, making me feel as if I am with a fan rather than a genuine friend. I need an outside perspective, please.